pictures captured the destruction from airstrikes. Homes, buildings, and lives destroyed within a matter of seconds. These photos show what an everyday possibility is like for many in Israel. From east to west, north to south, there are threats to its borders. Each part of the country has its own story to tell, but this story is from the Israelis' perspective. First, let's take a look at the north.
What's the security situation here? Well, most people I know, anyway, within my sphere have gone to the army, been in the army, fighting units, whatever.
Barry Prague lives in Kibbutz Daphne in the northern part of Israel. From this kibbutz, you can see both Lebanon and Syria.
I showed you the border's a mile away.
He says the community is full of bomb shelters and houses built of reinforced concrete from previous attacks.
Surreal. I was sitting on the balcony of my house and eating breakfast, and there was boom, 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 boom all the time. It was like, it's crazy.
Prague says he doesn't think about a terrorist attack happening every day, but if one is to happen, there is only seconds to find a shelter.
In basically an area where you get no warning, virtually 30-second warning. So if you hear sirens, the best thing to do is to just flat on the ground, put your hands on your head until the barrage goes over, and then run for the nearest cover.
Even though the last terrorist attack to hit Kibbutz Daphne was 12 years ago, Prague says he knows the situation is not going away.
You carry on with your lives. You don't duck for cover all the time. And I know that the army are on the borders, and my kids do their reserve duty. And I know we have people who don't want us to be here.
But in the Western Negev, which can be found here, people are constantly on edge. Once named the bomb shelter capital of the world, the city of Sirdat has had many missiles from Gaza over the years. Even when missiles aren't falling, people are still jumpy.
The hint, if you go to the supermarket and the lady in the supermarket speaks and says there is now 1 kilo of tomatoes for 5 shekels, before she speaks, you have the speaker going like this. The speaker makes a certain sound. This is the exact same sound like the alarm. Before the alarm goes on, it's the same sound. So when we go to the supermarket and she speaks, you can see everybody jumps at once.
Sharon Shelley is a bomb shelter researcher living with her family in the south of Israel. Bomb shelters can be found at every bus stop, but she says the government has recently upgraded the technology on the shelters because of their poor conditions.
All the shelters are locked, and when the sound of the alarm goes on, they just open automatically.
If you head down the road another 15 minutes by car, you will find yourself at Kibbutz Nahal, which sits even closer to the Gaza Strip.
המערכה הקרקעית.
שואלים לגבי העיריות, זה מטווח אתה חושב או שזה...
זה לא מטווח, בוא נגיד ככה, אבל...
You guys hear they're shooting in the background. I asked him, there's a shooting range close. Is it from the shooting range? He said it's not from the shooting range.
The army start shooting to scare them off and make them run away.
Daniel Rahamim and his family live on the kibbutz.
And
the last rocket was like a month ago, landed on the museum, no?
Yes, also.
You can see it there.
Yes.
The local community closest to the Gaza Strip says they're not afraid, but they're suffering from something else. Have you seen a lot of people suffer from PTSD and post-trauma from the airstrikes and the rockets?
My daughter, it's in my house. She just heard the siren, yes. Even she didn't hear the bomb, she started shaking.
Despite tensions with Gaza, the protests and missile strikes, Rahamim says it's just something that's part of their lives.
We have no choice. If we want to live here, if we want to continue to build our houses.
The third place are the people living in the Jewish settlements in Palestinian territories. These individuals are not affected by incoming missiles, but by people on the ground who can pose a threat.
4 years ago, 3 young teenage boys, 2 teenagers and one in his 21-year-old, were trying to hitchhike home. They were picked up by a car late at night where they believed that the people driving the car were Jews. They were actually Arab terrorists, and these 3 young boys were murdered.
Rabbi Alan Haber lives in Gush Etzion, Israel. 2 years ago, Haber's neighbor was killed in a terrorist attack less than a mile from his synagogue.
He was driving a car, and someone pulled up in the car, pulled out a gun and shot him, and killed him.
He says most Israelis, as well as most Palestinians, don't see any significance on the line that separates the Palestinian territories from the rest of Israel.
That line is, as we mentioned, is nothing other than a ceasefire line.
But he says until the Jewish and Palestinian leadership come to an agreement.
So I expect my army and government to take whatever measures are necessary.
Anger and the fear are 2 just very raw emotions that you face here almost every single day.
But no matter where the threats come from, there is one common theme among the Israelis.
We will not give up. We will stick here forever.
Reporting in Israel, Christine Morton, NCC News.